Hi, I'm Turk Strongman at Theron, Ramacharaka. Thank you for selecting this narration of Swami Panchadasi's The Astral World, its scenes, dwellers, and phenomena. Swami Panchadasi being a pen name of William Walker Atkinson's. This is Chapter 1. But first, the table of contents. There are a total of 11 chapters. 1. The 7 planes. 2. Astral regions. 3. Reality of the astral. 4. Passing the border. 5. Some lower subplanes. 6. Disembodied souls. 7. Scenes of the astral. 8. Life and work on the astral. 9. Higher planes and beyond. 10. The astral light. And 11. Astral entities. This is Chapter 1. The 7 planes. Every student of occultism, from the humblest beginner to the most advanced pupil, has a full realization of the wonders of that strange plane of being known as the astral world. The beginner, of course, has not the privilege of actually viewing life on this plane, except perhaps in exceptional cases or under extraordinary circumstances. But even he finds himself constant reference to the subject in the treatise of his studies, and soon discovers that that particular plane is the scene and field of some very strange phenomena. As he advances and learns more of the occult laws and principles, he develops still greater interest in the subject. And when he reaches the stage in which he is able to actually sense by astral vision on this plane, he finds that a new world of experience is opened out before him. The oldest occult teachings, as well as the latest, inform the student that there are 7 planes of being. The lowest of these planes is that which is known as the material plane. Second in order is that which is known as the plane of forces. The third is that which is known as the astral plane. The fourth is that which is known as the mental plane. And above these 4 planes are 3 higher planes, known to occultists, but which have no names that can be understood by those dwelling only on the lower planes, and which are incapable of explanation to those on the lower planes. I shall refer to some of these higher planes in this little book as we proceed, but shall make no attempt to describe them for the reasons just given. Our subject for the present consideration is merely the astral plane, and we shall find sufficient interesting facts in considering the phenomena of that plane without attempting to penetrate the veils of those still higher. It should be mentioned at this point that each of the 7 planes has 7 subplanes, and that each of these subplanes has its own 7 subdivisions, and so on to the 7th degree of subdivision. So you see, there is a most minute classification in the occult teachings. The student of occultism at the beginning usually experiences difficulty in forming a clear conception of the meaning of the word plane, as used in the occult teachings. Consulting the dictionary, he is apt to get the idea of a plane as one of a series of straight layers, one part of a great strata, above and below which are other layers or strata. It usually is quite difficult for the occult teacher to eradicate this erroneous idea from the mind of his pupils and to substitute the correct concept. This error arises from thinking of these planes as being composed of matter, or of material substance, which, of course, is incorrect. When it is remembered that even the densest form of matter itself is composed of vibrations of energy, as recognized by modern science, and that the forces of nature are but manifestations of vibrations of energy, one begins to find the key. Instead of the planes rising one above the other in the scale of the finiteness of matter, they are graded according to their respective degrees of vibration of energy. In short, they are not planes of they are planes of vibrations of energy. and not planes of matter at all. Matter is simply the lowest degree of vibrations of energy. That is all. The second common source of error on the part of the beginner in occultism is that of picturing the planes as lying one above the other in space. This conception, of course, naturally follows upon the error of thinking of the planes as a series of layers or strata of fine matter. But it also often persists even after the occult student has grasped the idea that the planes are grades of vibration rather than of matter. But finally, the student is impressed with the idea that the planes are not layers or strata at all. The planes do not lie one above the other in space. They have not spatial distinction or degree. They interpenetrate each other in the same point of space. A single point of space may have its manifestations of each and all of the 7 planes of being. Some of the old occultists sought to explain this condition of things to their students in the words of a very celebrated ancient teacher who originated the aphorism, "A plane of being is not a place, but a state of being." No words can give a better explanation of, or aid to, the correct mental conception of the idea of a plane in the occult sense of the term. Excuse me. To those students who may find it difficult to form the idea of a number of manifestations, each having its own rate of vibration, occupying the same point of space at the same time, I would say that a little consideration of the phenomena of the physical world will perhaps serve as an aid in the matter. For instance, every student of physics knows that a single point of space may contain vibrations of heat, light of many shades, magnetism, electricity, X-rays, etc., etc., each manifesting its own rate of vibration, and yet not interfering with the others. Every beam of sunlight contains many different colors, each with its own rate of vibration, and yet none crowding out the others. By the proper laboratory apparatus, each kind of light may be separated from the others, and the ray thus split up. The difference in the colors arises simply from the different rate of etheric vibrations. Again, it is possible to send many telegrams along the same wire at the same time by using senders and receivers of different vibratory keynotes. The same thing has its corresponding analogy in the case of wireless telegraphy. So you see, even on the physical planes, we find many forms of vibratory manifestation occupying the same point of space at the same time. The material plane, with which we are all familiar, has, of course, its 7 subplanes, and likewise its 7 times 7 series of subdivisions, as have all the 7 planes. At first, we are apt to think that we are perfectly familiar with every form of matter, but this is far from being the case, for we are familiar with only a few forms. The occult teachings show us that on certain of the fixed stars and some of the planets of our own chain, there are forms and kinds of matter as much lower in vibration than the densest form of matter known to us, as these dense forms are lower than the highest ultra-gaseous forms of matter recognized by us. And on the other hand, the same teachings inform us that there are in existence in other worlds, and even to an extent in our own, forms and kinds of matter as much higher than these highest forms of ultra-gaseous matter known to us, as the said known forms are higher than the densest form of matter now known to us. This is a startling statement. but every advanced occultist knows it to be true. Physical science formerly classified matter as follows. Number 1, solids. 2, liquids. 3, gaseous. But modern science has found many forms of matter far more tenuous and rarer than even the finest gases. It now calls this 4th class ultra-gaseous matter. But occultists know that beyond this 4th subplane of matter, which science is just now discovering, there lie 3 other and still finer subplanes, of which science at present has no conception. Next higher in the scale of manifested being, we find what is known as the plane of forces, of which very little is known outside of occult science, although of later years physical science has been breaking into this field. In the next 20 years, physical science will proceed further in this direction. The research into radioactivity is leading toward further knowledge regarding this plane of manifestation. On the plane of forces, we find the 7 subplanes, and likewise the 7 times 7 subdivision. There are forces far below the scale of the ordinary forces of nature known to man. And likewise, there are a great series of nature's finer forces at the other end of the scale, of which the ordinary man, even the scientist, knows nothing. It is these finer forces which account for many of the wonders of occult science. In particular, the fine force called prana, or vital force, plays an important part in all occult phenomena. Next, above the scale of the plane of forces, we find the great astral plane, the consideration of which is the purpose of this little book. Chapter 2 will be astral regions. Stay tuned. This is Theron Ramacharaka. I'm Turk Strongman. Be well.